Welcome back to another episode of the Archives with Adam and Fab. Today I have a very special guest that I grew up watching with my family, and man, it's just an honor to have this gentleman on today. If you guys grew up in the 80s, 90s, you definitely know this gentleman. But today I have Mr. Dave Ruprecht on. How we doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. How are you, Adam? You're up in
Hey,
Seattle,
I'm not too
right?
bad. I know we've been working on the. I am, yes, sir. Yes, sir. About 20 minutes away. I'm over here in the Renton area.
Okay. I don't know
Are
Seattle
you
that well.
familiar? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, no, we're not too far from Seattle. So, but Dave, we've been working on this episode for a while now, but we're finally making it happen.
Yes.
Man, it's an honor. I tell you what.
Uh,
So Dave, I mean, you did many shows. What set it off was Supermarket Sweep, which you were the host of.
yep.
And I remember watching Supermarket Sweep along with Shop Till You Drop on the PAX network. You remember that?
Yes. That's where we started. And that network went away and we actually started on Lifetime. When Lifetime was first coming on, it was the like 1990. And one of the young women in the administrative, creative, whatever, remembered seeing Supermarket Sweep. It was on for a couple of years in the 60s. And she remembered seeing it when she was homesick from school. Like all of us did when we were homesick, we watched game shows. And they found the producer, and he was still producing game shows. He at that time he was doing one called Sale of the Century. Name was Al Howard, and she approached him about doing it again when it was Lifetime, a baby Lifetime network at that time. Mm-hmm. And he said yes, and if he would revamp the show from the 60s, because in the 60s it was a whole different thing. They would go up and down the eastern coast to a supermarket chain, and they could only film on Sundays because at that time markets weren't open on Sunday. And they couldn't use brand name products. So like that became a huge part of our show. We were basically a half an hour ad for products. And so you couldn't say, do you think this bottle of Prel shampoo costs more than, they had to say, do you think this head of lettuce costs more than this pound of ground beef? So they were somewhat limited. Plus the second half where they were running around the super, they still did that, but they had these, if you can imagine, cameras in the 60s were on those huge tripods rolling around. Mm-hmm. Because for our show, the cameras were about this big, and they sat on the cameraman's shoulder, and he could run around and follow the people. But so it was limited with the cable. They had these big cables, so they had to have one cameraman running it, and another guy behind him making sure the cable and they didn't trip on other But luckily, with the new technology, and we upped the game. And then when it was sold or it changed to PAX, which was kind of a faith-based network, they brought in a marketing guy, and he got me out of the Bill Cosby sweaters. You remember the early years? Yeah. I had all those brightly colored. And he put me in a shirt and tie and got rid of, in the first couple of years, we had this monster a guy dressed up like a big banana or a big Tootsie Roll and chase people down the aisle. And this guy from PAX said, no, we got to hip it up a little bit. So he took me out of the sweaters, got rid of the monster banana and Tootsie Roll, and And then luckily we had a 14-year run.
It was a long time. That was for sure. 1990 to 2004.
Yeah, 2003 or 2004. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good times. Good times. I could tell you. Yeah, that was my favorite game show of all time to watch. Believe it or not. What was that?
I said thank you. That's nice to hear.
Of course. And now here I am as an adult, and I don't really like shopping. We got all that online ordering stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So when it came to getting this hosting gig, did you have to audition for it?
It was more interviews. It was the producer basically viewed all the guys in Hollywood who were doing game shows and infomercials. And there was a core of about 10, 20 guys who were doing that, who didn't have a show. And he narrowed it down to a few, and we had individual meetings with him. And I just remember when we were talking, just sitting in his office across the desk, it came up that my favorite movie was The Producers, with the original with Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder. And that was his favorite movie. And we talked about it. We were doing all the quotes from the original Producers. And the fact that I had done a lot of musical theater in my career, it struck a chord also, because he had been a timpanist with the New York Symphony before he started producing game shows. The timpanist is the guy that plays the big kettle drums.
Okay.
So he was musical, and we had all that, and the Producers, and that was it. And then I had to learn how to be a game show host, which is a whole separate skill set. I remember my first day on the set, the second in command producer walked me around and he said, "Now, Dave, you've been an actor your whole life. This is a different animal. What you are not the star of the show. The contestants are the star of the show. Your job is to facilitate the audience getting to know them, to bring out the contestants' personality, so the audience can decide whether they want to root for them or against them. They like them, they don't like them." And he said, just think of it like you're hosting a party, but you happen to have a vegetable section in your living room. I mean, it was the best advice, ABCs of being a game show host that you could possibly have. And stop me if I'm talking too much, but
no, you're fine.
I look everybody. Not so many people think being a game show host is the easiest thing in the world, so they think anybody can do it. And we've seen people fail left and right, because it's like when they redid Supermarket Sweep. With that, the host, the gal from Saturday.
Leslie Jones?
Right. I can never remember her name. It was so glaring that she thought she was the star of the show. I don't mean to cast aspersions. Nobody had the talk with her that she's not the star. The contestants are the star. And then it's interesting, when Alex Trebek passed, they quoted him as saying exactly the same thing. Alex Trebek, he said, "I'm not the star of the show. The contestants are the star. I'm just there to make sure things run smoothly," or whatever. But he said exactly that. I'm not the star. It's the contestant. And you see, when they try to throw a Rosie O'Donnell because she's a great stand-up and a great talk show host, that they can just step in and do it. It's a whole different skill set.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And for me personally, I tried to give that new supermarket sweep an opportunity, but I just couldn't get behind it because, like you said, it was more focused on Leslie Jones, as opposed to, to the contestants. Because I mean, she's a household name, right? She's a comedian. They thought maybe, I'm speaking. What's that?
Adam, it depends on your household. I stopped watching Saturday Night Live a long time ago, so I had no idea who she was.
Gotcha.
And as a caveat against Sour Grapes, I did audition to be the announcer because one of the producers thought it would be a good tie-in to to my show to have me announce the show.
Mm-hmm.
And she decided she wanted to do the announcing.
Oh, wow.
That's how much she thought of herself being the star of the show. So the opening, and welcome to Supermarket Sweep with your host, me.
Wow.
I don't mean this is not trying not sour grapes, but it certainly didn't work.
Yeah. No, and that's the only reason why it only lasted one season, right? If even that. Some will say COVID, but we know.
What would that have to do about it? People are home watching television.
Exactly. Yeah, so I mean, when it came to the show, when you guys were on Lifetime, it obviously switched over to 2PAX and being more of a different kind of network. Did that kind of affect things for you guys, or was everything still able to go as normal?
Outside of, like I said, hipping it up a little bit, not Market Sweep was ever hip, but taking me out of the goofy sweaters, getting rid of the guy, no, it didn't, because then they just let the production company produce it. I mean, like any TV show or movie, it's a gargantuan task to put it on. I mean, you see me and the contestants, but there's 50 people behind the scenes writing it, coming up with the questions, coming up with the games, contestant coordinators, just to wrangle the contestants, to pick them. Now, the contestants had to do auditions. They had to get up and make sure they could play the game and not make a fool of themselves with the different games.
Yeah.
And they would do an audition and a callback. And I was always there for the callbacks to host the callback. So there were 3 people casting, and then when we shot, wrangling the contestants, because we did 6 shows a day. So that's keeping the contestants occupied. And anyway, and plus the camera people, the caterers, the director, the writer, it's a lot of people. So that when PAX took it over, they basically said, let's hip it up a little bit, but then you produce the show, all the nuts and bolts. Yeah.
Okay. So did you guys film more than one segment, like a per day, or was it 6 in a day?
Most game shows, most half-hour game shows do 5.
Wow.
But my producer realized the only people he was paying by the show were the director and me. All the crew and everybody else he was paying by the day. So he decided to squeeze 6 in every day.
Wow, that's crazy. So you had to do a lot of shirts with tie changes and sweater changes in a day, huh?
That was the biggest challenge in my camp, was making sure, because of the configuration of the set, we would do the first half of show 1 where they're standing behind the podiums hitting the button, then take a dinner break. So we do first half of show 1 through 6, take a dinner break. They would rearrange the studio with the checkout stands, and then we'd come back and do the second half. And in over 130 shows 1,000 over 1,000 shows, only once did a contestant in the second half say, "Were you wearing that tie earlier in the day on there?" So, I mean, that the wardrobe person, when you think of it, 1,000 shows, once he didn't get the same outfit from the first half in the morning to the second half in the afternoon.
Wow, that's some skill.
Work, 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 work.
Oh yeah, exactly. Where did filming happen? Was it in an abandoned store? Like, was there any of those products that were ever real?
We shot the pilot in a market, and so when they checked out, there were bottles of vodka and condoms and vaginal spray and everything. And but no, we first started shooting in it's called Hollywood Center Studios, which is it had to be a big studio. Then for a number of years, we moved to NBC Burbank, which was cool, right on the same areas, the Jay Leno Tonight Show. And then the last couple of years, we shot about an hour out of Hollywood, a place called Santa Clarita, because it was cheap.
Yeah. Okay. That's wow. I'm glad we're having this conversation, because growing up as a kid, I'm 33 years old. So as a kid at that time, I'm just thinking, so much, and now here we are having this conversation about it all. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask you, because you kind of spoke on it, I feel like a little bit, or more than a little bit, but what's it take to be a great host? I know you said for like as a host, you want to make it about the contestants. Is there anything else that really kind of ties into that? Because Alex Trebek did his show for a long time. We have Bob Barker, and we have you as Supermarket Sweep.
And Pat Sajak. Can't forget Pat.
No, can't forget Pat Sajak.
Those guys are still running it. I think Wheel is still on, isn't it? Without
it is, yeah.
I think you'd have to like people and have a lot of energy, because I think one of the best compliments I ever got was from my announcer, Randy West, because he wouldn't be there on the tape day. After they cut it together, edited it, and put it all together, then he would go into a studio and do the voiceover play-by-play for the sweep. So he'd see it a month or two after we shot it. And the best compliment he gave me, he said, "I can't tell whether it was the first show you did that day or the sixth show." That was a huge compliment, because I hesitate to call it hard work, but you got to stay focused and energetic and interested in the contestants and what's happening. That's about it. Other than that, I think liking people, staying focused, listening. You got to listen, because, like I said, that's the host's job, is to draw the audience, the interesting stuff from the contestants, so the audience gets to know them.
For sure. No, because like for that, when I would watch the show, I would only know Dave, right? But there wasn't really a contestant that stuck out to me that I remember to this day. Was there anybody that you remember to this day that was
stuck out for you?
What was that?
What's the one that stuck out for you?
I don't really have one that stuck out. So, because like when you say as a host, it's all about the contestants, all I remember is you being the host, right? There wasn't really any contestants that stuck out. Like I was there, at home watching it, and I'm just like answering the questions, right? So I don't think there was anybody that I really focused on. It was just more like, I really would love to be on the show,
Yep, that's what draws people in. You want to do it. You want to be there.
Was there anybody that you worked with that you remember to this day for, whether they were, a good contestant or someone that maybe even gave you a hard time?
No, we had no problems Like I
Okay.
said, there was a whole crew of people to handle the contestants and keep them happy and
Okay.
energized. Because you want them excited when they come out. I mean,
Yeah.
talking $5,000, which nowadays is diminished, but at that time it was so fair amount of money.
Hmm.
And no, we never had any problems with. Now, after the show, I heard that some people would think they got shafted, but I never saw any. Luckily, the second in command producer kept me away from anything ugly or he was really good. Uh, he insulated me. So all I had to do was keep my energy up, stay focused, change clothes, uh, and stay focused. But no, I never saw any ugliness on our show. The crew was great. Up in the booth where I couldn't hear them, the director may have been yelling at me, saying, "You dumb, how could you possibly miss that? You got a cue card telling you what the," but I never heard it. I know he was. He got frustrated because I wasn't a game show host. I was an actor.
Exactly. Rockford Files. You did some commercials.
I still get residuals from Rockford Files, and I did that when I first moved out in 77 or 78.
Wow.
I did that Rockford, and I just got a $300 residual check from it.
Oh wow.
I still get the Threes companies pay well. I mean, so many of my residual checks are 28 cents, 47 cents.
What?
less than the stamp that SAG-AFTRA I had to put on the envelope to mail it to me.
Oh my goodness. They might as well just deposit it into your bank account, right?
Yeah, especially now that I'm getting residuals for sweep. Oh, we took now Al Howard is passed.
Yeah.
But there still is Al Howard production. And when it started rerunning on Buzzer and Amazon Prime and even Netflix had them back in 2020, Randy West and I started calling AFTRA and saying, shouldn't we be, hi, Patty. That's my wife, Patty. Say
Hi,
hello.
Patty. Hi. I need my foot report. I have Jim on it.
I scanned it. Here it is.
Sorry. Hi.
No, you are totally fine. Not an issue at all.
Okay.
So in 2020, we started bugging SAG-AFTRA, and it sat around for about a year and a half. Finally, they sent it over to the legal department and got a great lawyer on it. She filed a claim. And so last year in 2022, we started getting residuals.
Wow.
And let me show you how they come.
All right.
Now, these envelopes have been opened, but they come in a U.S. postal bin like this.
Yeah.
Of individual envelopes at 56. What is postage now? 56 cents?
Something like that. That's crazy.
So, well, my wife and I are retired, so I'm not complaining. In the beginning, they were 38 cents to 190 each check. Now, this last batch was 6 cents.
Wow.
2 cents. But you got to, like I said, I'm retired. What am I doing?
Opening 6-cent checks, right?
Yep. And depositing them.
Yeah. In your retirement years, what are you doing these days? What are you got any hobbies?
I've been in Rotary. Do you know what Rotary is?
I've heard of them, like Rotary clubs and stuff like that.
It is Rotary clubs. Yeah, it's an international service organization. So I've been in Rotary for 22 years. I joined back when I lived in Southern California. I lived in this great little town near Pasadena.
Mm-hmm.
And my veterinarian asked me to speak at the youth group. Rotary has a youth group called Interact. And she said, we've never had anybody in show business. So I went and talked to him. And I saw a couple of other adults running around setting up stuff and putting out cookies. And I said, what is Rotary? Much like you.
Mm-hmm.
She said, well, why don't you come to a meeting? We meet at 7:30 every Tuesday morning. So I came, I got hooked, and that was 22 years ago.
Wow.
What got you hooked? And I belong to a men's club up here in Northern California called the Bohemian Club. I just did a show there last night. I did a show there last Thursday. It's a 150-year-old men's club. Wow. Don't hate me for that. And we have a clubhouse downtown San Francisco, and it's called the Bohemian Grove, about 2 hours north of San Francisco, which is a redwood forest. And we spend a couple of weeks up there during the summer and do show. It's all built around the arts. It has been for 150 years. So that's there's artists, graphic artists, and singers and musicians and writers. It's a cool group. So that between Rotary and Bohemia, that keeps me busy and off the streets.
There you go. Those hills, right? Those big old hills in San Francisco.
What?
The big old hills in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
I've yet to go to San Francisco, but I see those hills and I'm just like, man, I hate them here in Seattle, especially when it's raining and snowy. I'm just like, I don't know how they do it over in San Francisco.
It doesn't rain that much here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's funny. I had dinner last night at the show, before the show, with a guy who just moved from Seattle.
Oh, really?
Moved to San Francisco. And I said, how is that? And he said, well, we just couldn't take the weather anymore.
It's getting bad.
Plus, he has, one daughter in first grade and another in third grade, and they wanted the good schools.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I remember from Seattle. I've done theater there, and I've done an occasional industrial type show in Seattle. I love Seattle.
It's all right for the most part. It's getting kind of bad out here, but I mean, we're talking crime, and then the weather's getting kind of bad. We just got done. I mean, at the end of October, we were in like freezing temperatures. Like, I mean, to me, freezing is like 28, but it was really cool.
That's
it
freezing.
Is. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
San Francisco's gone way downhill as well with the crime.
Yeah. It seems like all over the place, right?
Yeah, it depends on who's running the show.
True.
If they don't punish people, like in California, we have a law that if you steal less than $972, it's a misdemeanor, like jaywalking.
Oh, wow.
So, and the thieves know this, and they'll just go in with black garbage bags into a Walgreens or a Nordstrom. So many of the stores are closing in San Francisco because people will just walk in, take about $900 worth of stuff, designer products, and then walk out, and they can't do a thing about it. So,
yeah, we just we went to a little Halloween type event last weekend, and we were sitting at the auto parts store, and some guy goes in. He ends up taking off, walking out just nonchalantly with window wipers, and my girlfriend was like, did that guy just steal those? And I'm like, I think so. And he just like walked out, and then the employees came out and they were like trying to get a picture of him and stuff. And it's like, man, it's crazy times we live in. That's for sure.
No, I had a buddy at a Walgreens here where a guy did that. He just walked in and put stuff in a bag and walked out. And he said to the man, "Aren't you going to do anything?" He said, "Why? The cops won't come out. They can't arrest him. It's a mystery. It's a ticket."
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think until that stops, until there's punishment, if there's no consequence for doing bad behavior, people are going to do bad behavior.
Exactly. Well, Dave, I know we're hitting our time now, and I'm telling you, it's such an honor to hear some of the stories and you answering my questions.
Well, happy to do it. Good luck with your podcast.
I appreciate it. I only bring people on that I really truly have an interest in talking to. So,
well, thank you.
Of course, I know like I said, we've been trying to make it happen, and we finally did, and it's an honor.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good day.
Bye. You too. Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Archives with Adam and Fab. Be sure to follow us on social media and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcast. And most importantly, thank you so much for your continued support. We're having a lot of fun making these episodes, and we hope you guys are enjoying them as well. Stay tuned. We have a lot more exciting content for you guys coming soon.